let me begin by asking everyone to follow in my example of silencing any electronic devices or even turning them off completely so that we can all be present together. As well, let me share the wisdom of experience to remember to turn off a watch if you have that in addition to a phone. Sometimes one will be silenced and the other will ring. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai, mi yagur ba'oholecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha. Holech tamim u'forot tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo. Lo ragal al leshono, lo asa l'rehu ra'a, v'herpa lo nasa al krovo. Nivze be'enav nim'as ve'et yirei Adonai yechabed. Nishba lahara v'lo yamir. Kaspo lo natan b'neshech, v'shochad al naki lo lakach. Ose ele lo yimot leolam. From Psalm 15. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity, do what is right, speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue, do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor, spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who revere Adonai. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates, accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, then shall you stand firm forever. Im chasid tit chasad, im gvar tamim tit amam. With the loyal God you deal loyally, and with the blameless blamelessly. Im navar tit barar, im ikesh tit patal. With the pure you act purely, and with the perverse you are wily. Ki ata'am ani toshia va'enaim ramot tashpil. It is you who deliver lowly folk, but haughty eyes you humble. Ki ata ta'ir neri, anai Elohai yagia choshki. It is you, God, who lights my lamp. You, God, light my darkness. Ki v'cha arutz gedud uvelohai adaleg shore. With you I can rush a barrier. With my God I can scale a wall. Ha'el tamim darko, imrat Adonai tzerufa, magen hu locho hachosim bo. The way of God is perfect, the word of Adonai is pure. God is a shield to all who seek refuge. We're gathered this morning to see to the loving memorialization and the loving burial of a powerful and a committed woman, of Osnat Burdman, who lived a life fit perhaps for a novel or a movie. These psalms that we begin our ceremony with, they reflect that as human beings we live in between. We live in between the physical world that governs our time and our existence and the spirit that connects all the world and all of life that we sense in the power of God and reflected through our traditions and our teachings. And in moments like this, when we have to let go, when we have to recognize that we can't master all of the physical world, that one day we all come to an end, we use these psalms and these themes to help us understand and also to make meaning of this transition. This morning, we are honored and blessed to have with us Rabbi Lucas, who can share a psalm as well as some thoughts and memories of Osnat, who he knew for so long, as well as the cantor, and then we'll hear some from the family as well. So first, Rabbi Lucas.
Shir Ma'alot, Esaena Elohim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri mi'im Adonai, ose shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha yanum shombrecha, hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomercha, Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha, Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech balayla, Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra yishmoret nafshecha, Adonai yishmoret tzitecha v'oecha me'atav yad olam. I will lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? The source of my help is the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. God will not let you falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Surely the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is at your right hand to protect you. The Lord your keeper gives you shelter. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. The Lord will preserve your soul. God will guard your going and your coming from this time forth and forever. I come today to pay tribute to a great lady. There's, used to be in the magazines, there's articles about my most unforgettable character, right? I think that Osnat would have been the subject of many people's unforgettable characters. I don't know if many people are aware of this, but the Torah that we read from as part of our service was the Burdmans, Morty Alav Shalom and Osnat Aleha Shalom, were instrumental. In fact, they were responsible for 3 Torahs. One was donated to her shul that she grew up in Chadera. One sits at our Solomon Schechter Day School, which again they made possible. And the third one was when we undertook the project of writing our own Sefer Torah, and many of you participated in that project. It was Osnat and Morty that made that possible. And in fact, I still have an image in my mind of Osnat looking on with pride as Morty wrote the last letter, the Lamed, that completes the Torah. And what a great day that was for them and for us. These were, if I might be permitted just a personal, we were reminiscing that one could make the argument that it was because of Osnat that I actually came to Beth Shalom and was your rabbi for almost 30 years. Because I used to be, before I came here, I was the rabbi in Ventnor, New Jersey, which is right next to Atlantic City. And Osnat had a place in Atlantic City. We don't have to go into detail as to why she enjoyed an apartment in Atlantic City. But it was when Nat and Batsheva were visiting, right? And there was discussion at this point with me, another candidate, that Nat decided to take matters into his own hand. He was down in Atlantic City anyway, and came to shul to check out this guy. And it was because of that Nat became one of my great promoters, and I was privileged to be a rabbi for almost 30 years. So Osnat, I guess, gets credit for that, or blame, depending on which you want to do. But she will be missed. She will be missed. The world is a lesser place because she's not part of it. And it's certainly a less interesting place because she's not a part of it. Yehi zichrono baruch. Oh, and I did want to add one thing, that there was only one thing that was important to her in her life. And that was, Batsheva, you, Nat, the family, you were what she lived for. And you gave her such joy. And you took such good care of her, right? And if they say, and the rabbis say, sometimes we do one thing that earns us in a place in the world to come. And the care and love for your mother, your father, I think earns you certainly a place there. Yehi zichrono baruch, may her memory be a blessing.
Osnat was a real Yiddish mama. Whenever she was here, whenever I met her, sometimes at your home, she just had this vibe of a gute neshama. I was asked to recite Psalm 23, which usually I just recite, but I think we'll sing it today in a melody that was, I'm sure, very close to her heart, as it is for every Jewish family, sung on Friday nights. If you can, join together with me. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, bino deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'magle tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shivetecha umishanetecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishaneta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, kosirevaya. Ach tov v'chesed, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai, leyorech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter, your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Osnat lived in America for many years and loved America, but I think in her heart she always remained an Israeli, as all Israelis do, and I can attest to that myself. And she loved songs from the early days of Israel, Shirei Moledet, they're called. And one song that I think she and I would have shared was a beautiful song called Daber Elai Bifrachim. It means talk to me with flowers. Why is it important to me is because this is something my father and my mother sang to each other all the time when my dad was still around. And I'm sure she knew this song. This was one of the most famous songs of the 1950s. And it says, in the winter, the rain knocks on the roof, and he said to me, I'm going to bring you beautiful flowers, beautiful white flowers. And I said to him, you are so silly. Let's wait till the spring, and then you can talk to me with flowers. My love, talk to me with flowers. בחורף הגשם דפק על הגג, אמרה כי לבן הוא צבע אהוב, ליד אז הגשתי, בלב היה חג, צרור נרקיסים, ריחני ורטוב, צחקה טיפשוני החביב, עוד נשוב נדבר באביב, דבר אליי בפרחים אהובי, דבר אליי בפרחים, דבר אליי בפרחים אהובי, דבר אליי בפרחים. I also want to take a moment and acknowledge the presence of my good friend and colleague, Hazan Steve Heavenstone, who is a very good friend of Batsheva, and we appreciate you being here today.
There's a famous story about a rabbi who is on his deathbed, Rav Zusia. It's so well known, I could probably just leave it there and go to the explanation I want to, but let me just complete the story for those who aren't familiar. So Rav Zusia he knows the time is coming, and his students are attending to him. And they can see that he has tears in his eyes. They say, Rav Zusia, are you upset because you didn't have as many students as Rabbi Akiva? And Rav Zusia says, no, I'm not upset. I'm not upset about that. Well, are you upset that you didn't have as many books published or as much influence on the Jewish people as someone like the Chafetz Chaim? He said, no, that's not it. Well, what is upsetting you, Rav? And Rav Zusia said that when I meet God, when I meet Hashem, He's not going to ask me, why weren't you more like Rabbi Akiva? Why weren't you more like the Chafetz Chaim? He's going to ask me, Zusia, why weren't you more like Zusia? Right? Why weren't you fully yourself in your life? And so many of us that struggle throughout life to really be present and fully ourselves in everything we do. I did not really have the pleasure of getting to know Osnat, but from the stories I've heard and the influence I've seen, it's clear that Osnat did not lack from the will to be herself and to carve her way. And she had a powerful sense of self and will. And to hear about her impact upon her family especially, those who knew her best and could see the world through her eyes the best, we'll be able to hear this morning beginning from the family, beginning with her grandson Avi.
Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to start off by thanking everybody for being here today. It really means a lot to me and my family. This eulogy that I'm about to deliver is truly one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I mean, how do you sum up somebody's life in just a few minutes, right? It's impossible. And anybody that had the privilege of spending time with my grandmother, or as we call her, Tata, will know exactly what I'm talking about and why this task is so hard. By the way, the reason why we call her Tata is when I was a little kid, I could not pronounce Savta, called her Tata, and just the name stuck, not just with me, but with our family and everybody that knew her dearly. But I thought about it really hard, and I thought about what my Tata would do. You see, Tata always had the answer and solutions to any problem, large and small. Her life experiences, challenges, ups and downs, and everything in between has given my Tata an extraordinary set of knowledge and wisdom that she has passed on to me. And there is no doubt that there are many elements of her that are not part of me. And I will do my best to pass these virtues down to my children and beyond. Tata was so easy to talk to. Anybody that knew her knew that she was the best listener in the world. And best of all, she always knew exactly what to say to make it right and to put it in perspective. Having a bad day, not sure what to do, you need some inspiration, Tata was my go-to person. And no matter what she was doing, she always made time for me, always. My conversations will always be treasured. So back to what Tata would do regarding this eulogy. I would bet that she would take an opportunity to pass some wisdom. So allow me the opportunity to do just that. Tata is known for her quotes and her sayings. Some of them are ridiculous and some of them are amazing, but probably one of my favorite ones that she would tell me constantly with such deep meaning for life comes from Rabbi Hillel, which is a famous Jewish sage in the Pirkei Avot, and he said, Im ein ani li mili, ukshani le'etzmi ma'ani, v'im lo achshav ematai. This translates into, if I am not for me, who will be for me? And when I'm for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, then when? This famous quote that I'm sure a lot of you here know reflects a balance between self-responsibility, community, and action. So here's a little breakdown of its meaning. Number one, if I am not for me, who will be for me? This emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for yourself. No one else can live your life or make decisions for you. You must advocate for and take care of yourself. I think one of Tata's biggest traits was her ability to embrace responsibility and the importance of decisions. She used to tell me all the time, and my brother, she used to say, Avi Ariel, when you look into the mirror, it is only you that can decide what the right path is. This is forever ingrained in me. Number two, it says, and when I'm for myself alone, what am I? While self-care and self-advocacy are crucial, being solely self-focused is limiting. So in other words, take care of yourself, but take care of others. We live in communities and with families, and a life lived only for oneself lacks meaning. And this part encourages thinking about others and contributing to the world. And boy, was Tata an example of that. Tata was the most giving person that I knew, and her generosity to her family and her community was really part of her DNA. And this is something that I will always cherish, and I will always give back as much as I can. And lastly, it says, if not now, then when? This is clearly a call to action, and it reminds us to not delay important decisions or actions. We often procrastinate in life or wait for the right time, but this phrase emphasizes the urgency of acting in the present. Anyone that knows Tata knows that she was the epitome of living life to the fullest. Life is short, and we are here for a very small period of time. Make it count is the message that she conveyed. And I certainly try to live my life with my family to the fullest. I also think that my entrepreneurial side comes from her. That is for certain. Tata indeed lived a long and magical life to the fullest, who gave back to this world beyond comprehension. She truly touched the souls of everybody who she came into contact with, and while her physical body might not be with us anymore, her wisdom and her essence will last forever. We'll miss you, Tata. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. And now her granddaughter through Avi, Lana.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Lana Slavin. I am Avi's wife. But today I'm going to speak as Tata's granddaughter. Tata and I had a very special relationship. She was not just my husband's grandmother, she was my grandmother as well. And she never made me feel any other way. When I met her, she filled a void in my heart that I didn't even know was missing. She told me the stories from her childhood and all throughout her life with such grace. I only later realized she told me her life stories so that I could learn from her. We used to spend hours on the phone chatting about everything under the sun. She would answer the phone, and the first thing she would say to me is, "What's cooking, Kook? How are the children?" This is how she started every single one of our conversations. She was my girl, who I could chit-chat with or have a serious conversation with, and that's what made our relationship so special. We had a bond, an understanding of some sorts. She gave me the best advice, but always wanted what was best for the family. The way she loved our children, Mia and Kai, was selfless and full of love. Our family was the core of who this magnificent human was, and in our hearts always will be. To know Tata is to love, but to love her is a true blessing. Thank you, Tata, for everything that you taught me and everything you've done for our family. I love you very much.
Thank you, Lana. And now her son-in-law, Nat.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Shalom and farewell, dearest Tata. By now, you've heard just about everything about how my mother-in-law got her nickname, Tata. So I'm just going to give you a little background, because other than my wife, my dear wife, I've known her the longest. Tata was a woman with very, very high standards. And she expected those standards from everyone, whether it be family members, particularly family members, and close friends. If you crossed her, you were virtually crossed off her list. And I'm using cross twice. And she didn't suffer fools very well. She was very generous. You heard from the rabbis with the Sefer Torahs. But she supported just about all the institutions that we were connected with. Solomon Schechter, schools in Israel. She actually was she funded a great deal of my kids' education. Her grandkids' education, the 5 daughters in Israel, and other organizations where my father-in-law was the president of the ZOA of Long Island, completely funded those. As you heard, Tata was all about family. As a single mother in Hadera, Israel, before she emigrated to the United States, she provided the best possible home and private education for Batsheva and Baruch. Private boarding school, which I visited, was very impressive. I'm particularly grateful for this focus on family. Some of you know this, some of you don't. Well, without Tata, there wouldn't be Batsheva. And without Batsheva, Tata's daughter, there wouldn't be my 2 sons. She had a major influence on that. Many of you know, very few old-timers here, but the old-timers know of what I'm referring to. Some of you in this beautiful shul know, and you heard from the rabbi, the direct hand that she had in the shul, particularly the Sefer Torah. And many of you know that the family, the 2 sons, and the 5 the two sons were, quite productive. Not only do I have two grandchildren, but my brother-in-law of blessed memory, he had 5 daughters. Altogether, the 5 daughters had 11 grandchildren. I know it's hard to keep up with all the math, but very, very focused on family. And loved every one of them, and visited every one of them. As I stated, Tata was very devoted to family and friendships. At 93, she obviously outlived just about all of them. And this was a difficult void in her last days, where virtually all her friends were gone. I first met Tata when I began courting Batsheva, way back in 1969, and I was very young, callow youth age of 22, living in Brooklyn in a 4-story walk-up. And after a while, Batsheva said, it's time to meet my mom. And of course, I was a little concerned. I mean, how in the world am I going to, impress her? And she cautioned me, look, I'll give you some tips, but don't dare mess it up. So anyway, I got prepared and was introduced to Tata. I found out that she was a skilled bookkeeper. I learned that just at that meeting in Hadera, Israel. And she continued that skill also working in Manhattan for a large garment industry. And as I said, I was just 22 years old. I just came out of the yeshiva, just started graduate school, living in that walk-up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And it hit me. I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. I was thinking of going to law school. I said, you know what? I'm at Baruch, and I'm thinking of majoring in accounting. And she goes, that's great. I love math. And then we bonded right there and then. And we found some kind of commonality. Matter of fact, I think she even drilled me on the multiplication tables at the time. For those of you who don't know this, back then, there weren't even calculators. We had to do math in our head. It wasn't always easy. Even when I worked at a real job at Deloitte & Touche, we had to do math the long way. So it was only a few months later that, with Tata's blessing, Batsheva and I got engaged. It was very short after that. And it was really kind of weird in a way because she was a very stunning and attractive woman. Remember, I'm 22, she's 16 years older, she's 38, and very stunning. So we had these engagement parties at the house, one for my close friends, one for my family. I had a lot of old uncles and aunts. And of course, I'm going around introducing Tata to my uncles, my family. And there was one old uncle, he didn't see very well, I'll give him that. And his name was Uncle Ichka. So I'm introducing him to all the uncles, including, I get to Uncle Ichka, and I say, this is, Osnat. And he tells, you are one of the most beautiful brides I've ever seen. I said, oh my God. And Tata said, no, I love it. Let him think that. Let him think it. Okay. Again, strangers that met Tata and Batsheva, they always assumed, and I got this so many times, that they were sisters. And very often, they thought that Tata was the younger sister. I don't think my wife appreciated after those times, but that's what happened. Tata and my late father-in-law, Dr. Mortimer Burdman, as you know, they moved to Atlantic City in 1990 for the summers, but wasn't mentioned, they also had a vacation home during the winters in Isla Verde, Puerto Rico. Both locations had great attractions, as everybody knows, great beaches, exciting nightlife, and the most important thing for Tata's hobby, gambling. Oh, does she love gambling? Tata enjoyed life, but she insisted in sharing it with her family, her friends, and not only my kids, but my kids' friends. I don't have to tell you how many times my kids invited their friends over to Atlantic City and even to Puerto Rico. She also, as I said, funded their education, which I was a big, benefactor of. And she believed, and this I always took notice of, she believed that you had to be particularly extra nice to people that were in the service business. Every time we went to Atlantic City, the bellhops, the valets, the waiters and the waitresses, they would literally have fights in the parking lot. Who's going to get Tata first because of the big tips they would get? She had some vices. We know that. It's no secret. She loved Dewas on the Rocks, right? Just almost every night. She smoked, had that indulgence. But as I said, she insisted in her way to enjoy life to the fullest. I remember one incident that my father-in-law was invited to give a speech at the ZOA in Manhattan. And we actually traveled from Atlantic City to go there, and we finally get there, all dressed up and everything. And as soon as we get there, I was like the messenger. I was the errand boy. She gives me $20 and says, look, you know what I want, right? I said, of course, how would I not know what you want? Scotch on the rocks. And remember, the drinks are free. It's part of this charitable event. So I go over to the bartender and I get the Scotch on the rocks. I give him $20. He's going to give me change. So I give him $5. Come back to Tata with the drink, and I give her $15. I said, what did you do? I said, well, what did I do? I got you the drink. What's this $15 for? I said, it's a change. I gave him $5. You're supposed to give him the whole 20. What's the matter with you? So she was, as you said, very, very, very big tipper. And she cared about the people. They all knew her by her first, last name, and everything else. Now, you heard about the Sifrei Torahs, but Tata also got down and did all the, the physical work. She helped design the costumes and all the major events, such as Israel's 30th, 40th, and 50th birthday celebrations. There were other celebrations at the temple. I call it the golden age of temple. I'm prejudiced, obviously. We had the Jerusalem 3000, we had Hester Street, and she was involved in every one of those. And that's how everybody got to know Tata, because Tata and Batsheva were like twins. And especially we're very close to Rosh Hashanah, and she would help Batsheva polish the beautiful silver, the adornments that adorn our Sifrei Torah. So when my father-in-law did pass away back in 2003, she was still in Atlantic City, obviously, and we tried everything to get Tata, to come back and live with us in Roslyn. No chance. She said if you wanted to see her, we just had to travel to Atlantic City. And sometimes that was like every weekend. And my wife couldn't go every weekend. She had, as I said, unlike me, that was an educator at a university, she had a real job. She had to go to a job. So I was sent off very often alone and she was about 86 at the time. We begged her not to drive, so I think we were relatively successful. So when I got down, I helped her with the shopping at the supermarket and everything else. And then, of course, we went to the casino. We went and I took her to dinner. Wait a minute. She took me to dinner. And that's how it lasted until she got, really pretty, very dependent. And she's been living with us. She lived with us for the last 6 years. Tata always believed in dressing and being very elegant, dressing to the nines. She had great pride in her appearance. And I always looked at her as a contemporary. She had this, we used to joke around, and she used to tell me, look, don't worry about me when I get old. I said, well, I might be worried. No, you don't have to worry. And I said, well, why not, Tata? Because guess what? When I'm going to be old, you're going to be old too. And she was right. Tata loved every second, every nanosecond of life. She loved her friends. She loved her family. And she created a lullaby. You know, if you heard from the cantor how Tata loved music, Israeli music. She created her own lullaby when the kids were young. I'm going to try to replicate it and dedicate it to my Tata. And it went something like this. And my two sons, Avi and Ariel. Avale the kleine, Arielchik the kleine, Avale, Avi and Avale, the kleine and the schenkste. Oi, 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 Avi Ariel Shili. It's my turn now for Tata. Tata le de kleine, Tata le de scheide. Oi, 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 Tata le shelanu. Farewell, Tata. We always love you. We'll continue to cherish you the rest of every day of our lives. Thank you.
This week, we read Parshat Nitzavim in Temple, and there's a very famous quote or section that speaks to me of Osnat and how she's been represented to us. Moses is speaking to Bnei Israel as they are gathered, standing literally, Nitzavim, standing at the border of the land of Israel, about to go in. He knows he's not going with them and is giving them, he's trying to invest in them the best of his wisdom, the most he knows, so that they will stay on the right path. And he says, Lo b'shamayim hi, lemor. It is not in the heavens that you should say, Mi ya'aleh lanu hashamayma v'yikacheha lanu. Who among us is going to ascend to the heavens to bring it to us, the Torah? Yashmi'enu ota v'na'asana, so that we may observe it and understand it. V'lo me'ever liyam hi, lemor, mi avor lanu et ever hayam v'yikachecha lanu, yashmi'enu ota v'na'asena. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it? Ki karov elecha hadavar me'od, beficha u'bilavecha la'asoto. No, it is very close to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart to do it. Osnat had that. She knew it was in her heart and in her neshama, her soul. And we've heard incredible, incredible stories of how she impacted her family, her congregation, the school that helped raise her grandchildren, and so many others, including all of ours here on the Bima. The Torah that we read from, the Torah that's read from in New Jersey, the Torah that's read from at Solomon Schechter. And so for us, as we proceed, our responsibility is to take that example and to try and emulate it in the best way that we can. Not to do exactly what she did, because as the story of Zusia teaches us, we have to be ourselves. But how can the lessons that we learned from her, how can the lessons that we've heard from her loved ones and the example we see in the community, how can those impact us to help us be more fully ourselves and to have Torah in our mouths and our hearts so that we may do it? That's our responsibility going forward, and we are fortunate that Osnat set such a powerful example for us. And if we do it well, then her memory will be a blessing for sure for Batsheva, her brother Baruch, Zichrono Livracha, for Nat, for Ariel, for Avi and Lana, and their children Maya and Kai, or Mia and Kai. In Israel, to Vered and Dorit and Oshrit and Meirav and Smadar, and as Nat shared with us, too many grandchildren and great-grandchildren to name. She'll be a blessing for them, but she'll also be a blessing for us. And if we carry forth our mission, then that will come into being. We say, Ken Yihi Ratzon, may that be God's will. And together say, Amen. I'm going to ask the Chazan to come over and join me here at the Bima as he will chant El Maleh Rachamim, a prayer where we ask that Osnat's soul be connected to the eternity of God, he be bound up in the bindings of life, after which we'll begin our procession to Mount Ararat Cemetery, where we will see to Osnat's loving and respectful burial together. And those who are going in the procession can join together behind the funeral coach and the limousine. So as the cantor comes over, please everyone rise out of respect, and then we'll move forward.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanefei Ashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Masyerim, Et Nishmat Osnat Bat Asher Beshoshana, Shehalecha Leolama. Bavor she'anu mitpalelim, beyad haskarat nishmata, began Eden etehei menuchata. Lachen bal harachamim, hastireya besetere kenafecha leolamim. Utzeror bitzror achayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachlata. ותנוח ושלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
El Maleh Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Osnat bat Asher v'Shoshana, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We'll begin our procession now to Mount Ararat. And if you are not attending the burial, know that Shiva tonight begins at 7 p.m., and Minyan will be at 8 p.m.